And welcome to the ARK Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Daniel Callahan here with Derek Stone.
Hey, on today's podcast, we talked a lot about purpose, the why, not the what behind it. Success in the kingdom is not defined by the speed or skill, but by surrender. Surrender. Purpose.
100%. And we talked a lot about the roadblocks that Christian entrepreneurs face, not just CEOs, but small business owners, and how we as a podcast have purposed to address those and to be the community and the discipleship that Christian entrepreneurs need. Before we get into the conversation, help us by subscribing, liking, and sharing our episodes. Tune in every week as we publish them. Listen, if you're local, to WPNN Radio on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And it helps us out a lot. Check out our Patreon and support us. You're not just supporting Daniel and Derek, you're supporting the mission of what we do. Help us help Christian entrepreneurs. We're seeing a massive impact. We want to do it well. We want to do it with excellence. That requires some resources. So if you love what you hear, if it's making an impact, or if you know it's going to impact people around you, help us out, support us, check us out on Patreon, check us out on our website at thearkpodcast.com. Now let's get to the conversation. All right, and welcome to the ARK Entrepreneur Podcast. Back again for another week, and we've had a great week. Had a great talk last week as well. Mm-hmm. So we're just excited about what's going on. We've got some things coming up in the pipeline in the next week or so. We're very excited about for our podcast in the future, not just the future of the podcast, but the future of ARK itself, because we want to engage Christian entrepreneurs in the kingdom, mm-hmm. and we want to do it effectively, and we want to do it well. That's a big sector missing in Christian entrepreneurship in our country right now. Yeah, our resources that entrepreneurs can use. So we're just taking some time. We want to take some time to talk about some things that really hit Christian entrepreneurship. Not just here are 5 steps to have a better business model, but why we do what we do, and what keeps us from doing what we should do. You know, what are those things that hold us back today? We're going to talk about what is your purpose as an entrepreneur? Why do you do the things that you do? And Derek, first of all, hey, Derek.
Hey, Dan.
How you doing? Didn't introduce you today.
No.
I'm Daniel, and this is Derek over here. Sorry for missing the intros.
Yeah, it's all you today. You got it.
We've only done this, I don't know how many times now.
It's like Batman and Robin. Batman always forgets Robin. Even though
am I Batman?
I don't know.
Oh, that's
Maybe
nice.
You're Batman.
That's nice.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a Robin in a Batman movie in a long time. Has there?
Right. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Batman just kind of gets rid of him.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Well, you're Superman.
I feel like I'm on the...
We're not Batman versus Superman. We're just... See, I got to put on a special suit just to compete. See?
Speaking of, they're making that new Superman.
We're
way off topic, but now that you said
this.
Superman, they're making that new Superman, and I don't know why they're doing it.
I thought it already came out.
Yeah, maybe it came out, but why?
I haven't been to a movie in so long.
I mean, how many Superman movies do we need to redo? It's not like a continuation.
Like 30 of them.
It's like, let me tell you the origin story. We've done that every generation, and then now we've done it like 3 times in the last 5 years.
See, I grew up with Lewis and Clark. Even though that's what, a 90s, is that 90s, early 2000s, something like that? Mm-hmm. That was like my Superman. Mm-hmm. And then, what's his name? Dean Cain.
Yeah.
So he was my other Superman. What was that show? Was that Superman? Or is that The Adventures?
That was Lois and Clark.
That was Lois and Clark?
Yeah.
Dean Cain?
I'm pretty sure that was Lois and Clark.
No.
I'm going to have to look it up now.
I watched that much.
You're like, that was my show. Well, I mean, not that
maybe
much.
That was no, I thought Lewis and Clark was that.
Well, we're going to find out right now.
Dean Cain was... yeah, we got our laptops with us today.
I don't ever do this,
because we're fancy.
Yes, Lewis and Clark.
We run business.
The New Adventures of Superman.
Was Dean Cain?
Dean Cain, yeah.
That's the New Adventures of Superman.
Lois and Clark.
The New Adventures.
The New Adventures of Superman.
Oh, man, that's confusing.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked a lot. This took a turn I wasn't expecting. No,
it did. Yeah, everybody loves Superman.
Well, who was there was another kid, though, that wasn't Dean Cain. Or is it just I don't know what Dean Cain. Can't remember what Dean Cain looked like in his 20s.
He was a lot better looking, I guess.
Now we're just seeing him as he's a news correspondent now for Fox, isn't he? Or Fox Business or something like that.
I don't know. I haven't seen him on
Congratulations, Dean Cain. You went from Superman to news correspondent.
I see him on all these like Christian movies that are like, I don't know, straight to VHS still.
Yep, him and
that's how terrible they are.
What's that guy's name? It was Hercules.
Oh yeah.
Why do I want to say Rambo? That's not right. Wait, does his name rhyme with Rambo?
No.
What's his name?
Kevin Sorbo.
It rhymes with Sorbo, Rambo.
Okay, I got you.
Kevin Sorbo. Yeah, I was at church when Kevin Sorbo came. He spoke at our church, and dropped a couple of curse words. And
he did. Pastor was on edge.
Everybody went. That's fine.
I was waiting on security to walk him out.
That's
We're gonna take Hercules right out of here.
Everybody went. Wait, we've been allowed to say that this whole time?
Well, gosh.
I think the pastor cursed a few times in the next few messages just to try it out, see if he gets the same.
He's trying to slide it in there a little bit.
Well, sometimes it's, sometimes it's the most impactful word, I guess.
Yeah.
If you have to use it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, thank you, Kevin Sorbo, Dean Cain, for your service. You're writing a lot of resources for us for that we provide for entrepreneurs, Christian entrepreneurs, and providing context for the purpose of what they do, context for the end result of what a Christian-run, integrity, value-based business can be. You write a lot of our devotionals that we publish every week, and a lot of our articles, and you're a great writer and have great ideas, and they're bringing things to the forefront. You're always sending stuff, and always, hey, look, this is what I'm writing on, or this is what I sat down and done. And did. I don't know why I just said and done. My mother's going to kill me.
We're in the South. It's okay.
How you find so much time to do this with 5 children and a business and a wife? I always forget your wife.
Part of it is my wife says, hey, can you get off your phone? It's like, look, I didn't know I couldn't do that while eating dinner or taking a bath or that's pretty much everything. So that's how you do it. You just walk around with your phone all the time, make your wife upset. Number 2, you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and between 4 and 6, that's when you get things done. And then you come into your podcast on Thursdays, and you're tired.
You can't keep your eyes open.
And you go, oh.
See, my alarm goes off at 4:42. But it depends on when I go to. I'm struggling now to go to sleep at a certain time because I work in the evenings too.
Yeah.
Because I got to use it. Once the kids go down, I've got some good undisturbed time to get some stuff done. But the problem is I get into a work mode, and it's so hard to shut my brain off. Even after I put it all down, it takes about 45 minutes. So if I want to be asleep by 10, I either just work until like 8:15 to 9:15, which I feel like I'm just starting to get going.
Yeah.
At 9:15.
Yep.
But I love my early mornings. I'm trying to get a little bit more consistent on the routine so I can get in the desk earlier. Because, you got to get up, get that first cup of coffee, shake the dust out of your hair,
right.
That kind of thing,
Yeah.
I'm trying to cut that time down. So I do a pre-workout.
A workout before you work out?
No, a pre-workout drink.
Oh, okay.
It's got...
I was confused and you had to finish that up. I was like, you're going to work out before you work out?
I work out so much, I do a workout before my workout.
That's right.
No, we've always used the same one, but then this last time my wife got this different one. And I noticed a tingling in my fingertips, and my whole face felt like sensitive to sunlight. Mm-hmm. And I went and grabbed it. Normally ours was like 200 milligrams of caffeine, 250.
Yeah.
This was 400.
That's like a Fedrin.
I don't think that's legal, to be quite honest with you. I said, did you know how much? She goes, yeah, I just thought we'd try it. I was like, what? So we can paint the house before we leave in the morning? Just quick.
I'm almost done rebuilding that second half of our house.
I'll tell you what, my 5 a.m.s have been a lot more productive the last few weeks. But anyway, I'm going to try to back that down a little bit because I am in my 40s.
Yeah.
That could eventually. However, Huberman, Dr. Huberman on his podcast, he recommends doing a large dose of caffeine first thing in the morning, up to 400 milligrams or 500 milligrams in the morning, and you can do 250 at the very beginning, and then work up to 400, but stop by 10 a.m. and never caffeine after 2. So he actually says that it does a lot more. It wakes your brain up, it gets those neurons firing a lot easier. It can be long-term healthier, and can maintain cortisol. So
look, I don't know what I would do.
I've tried everything.
Because
you don't do caffeine?
Well, I do.
Well, you do caffeine, but not coffee.
I got my Diet Coke, caffeine in it. I don't drink the caffeine free. And then if I'm not drinking Diet Coke, I try to drink water. But to be honest,
Well, what do you think I'm mixing my pre-workout in? Water?
Diet Coke. And then sweet tea. So sweet tea has also.
See, I try to tell my wife, because she says I need to drink more water. It's like, there's only one real potable liquid in existence. It is water. If you're drinking it, it's largely based in water.
That's what I say. So, I mean, I think the first thing in this can right here says, carbonated water. Yeah. So, I mean, the second word is water.
Throw some gas in it, it's still water.
Look.
Right? Well, there's your health tip for the day. It's all water. Don't worry about it. Hydration's hydration, right?
Whatever these doctors tell you, they're wrong. Listen to us. We're the experts.
Yes,
Plenty of
I think
water
we
here.
probably have to put in a disclaimer that we are not giving medical advice or recommendations.
That's right.
Something like that. I listened to, have you ever listened to the Rich Dad, Poor Dad podcast?
Yes. Yeah.
Like every other sentence he does is, now this isn't a recommendation. We're just saying what we do. We're not recommending anything. But everybody's going out and going, okay.
I wonder how many lawsuits that people try to pin on him.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, for sure.
He's
He's
like,
been doing that for years, every other word. And he opens every podcast with, coming to you from Phoenix, where it's either hell or heaven, and it's almost hell right now. And I was like, every time, I can't tell. I was like, did I just listen to this podcast? It's the exact same opening every time, but I still love hearing it. Man, he's good.
He's good.
He's got it down to 30 minutes. That man does not like to waste long-form time.
No.
For sure.
I mean, when you do it and you get it concise, you can do that. Spit out a lot of information in a short period of time.
He's got to be close to, 80? Is he in his 80s?
I don't think he's in his 80s, but he's...
Well, he said his book starts as a 9-year-old kid in 1956? So he'd have to be close.
I got to look that up. See, because I'm curious.
We need a Jamie from the Joe Rogan Show. Jamie, pull that up on the screen.
Chris, can you do this for us?
No, Chris doesn't have a computer.
Robert Kiyosaki is 78 years old.
78, so close. So close. So that would have put him born in 47?
Don't ask me to do the math now.
47, I think?
In the 1900s.
78 in the 1900s.
Yeah, started with the 19, so he's old.
Yeah, I know. It's there's 2 girls in our office at the front desk, graduated from college. Both of them born in the 2000s. That just blows my mind. Still, I mean, you're out of college. Yeah, they're in grad school, and they were born when I was in high school. After I was out of high school.
It's strange.
It's crazy. Anyway, but world keeps turning. So you've sent me some awesome stuff on purpose. You're writing a book for.
I am trying to write
through ARK.
Yeah.
On purpose. Is that correct? Or
no? So this is a little bit about purpose. This what I sent over to you is kind of like a quick bullet points of my first 3 chapters that I've
gotcha.
rough drafted. They're not completed yet, but it's the book is about the kingdom and how we work within the kingdom. It's called Kingdom Hustle.
Kingdom Hustle.
That's going to be the name of it. So nobody go out there and steal my name of the book.
Until the publisher goes, you should probably change that.
No, the publisher will be wrong because it's fantastic.
Because we're probably going to self-publish.
That's
so
right.
That's
right.
Unless
somebody out there wants to, donate some money, and then they can change it to whatever they want to. But Kingdom Hustle, and the core of it is about how we work, in the kingdom, not in the world, right? So we actually we're here in the world, so we're working in the world. But when we're working, we're doing it for the kingdom, and how do we operate within that? And so I got some bullet points here to talk about from those first 3 chapters because it's really, really good, and it only gets better each chapter. I got a rough draft for about 9 chapters so far, and it's really, really impactful.
We'll get into it because you had some.
So I'm gonna tell you this one right here. This is my chapter 2, and this is probably chapter 2 is filled with a bunch of little quips and one-liners that are just you could probably reach chapter 2 and be set. But this one right here hit me so much going back and reading it over. Sometimes when you write it out, it's different than when you read
Sure.
it back or have somebody else read it back to you.
Yeah.
And it says, success in the kingdom is not defined by speed or scale, but by surrender. Noah looked like a failure until it started to rain. Joseph's faithfulness in prison didn't look impressive until the palace door opened. And Jesus himself looked like a public failure on Friday. But heaven flipped the script in the scoreboard on Sunday.
That's awesome.
Man, if you're here, stand up after hearing that.
You sent me that. Have you ever heard Sunday's Coming?
Yeah. Yep.
That's so powerful. The darkness of Friday was so stark.
Yep.
But Sunday's coming.
That's
right?
it.
And it's a theme we've talked about so many times. It's surrender. We joke that so much of what we say makes terrible T-shirts, because a lot of business guys out there have these one-liners and sayings that are like, yeah, awesome, let's go make $1 million. Ready to go. Put that on a hat. It's hard to say. You got to surrender your hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
To His purpose and His dream. And you're absolutely right. I think, unfortunately, it takes some of us. I put myself in that boat. So long to learn that lesson.
Absolutely.
I think about the prime years of my life that I didn't waste, but didn't live to the potential because I failed to surrender. It's all about me. What I could do, what I can bring to the table. Being the smartest man in the room.
Yeah.
What I discovered about that is I was in the wrong rooms. You know what I mean? Wasn't in the right rooms. If you're the smartest man in the room, get into another room.
Find you a new room.
You're not going to learn anything.
Find a new room. That's right.
And it's not going to be good. It's going to be because people find themselves in that kind of situation, especially if they have any sort of level of success. Man, I'm the golden boy. Everything I touch, and I won't make it. Mm-hmm. If I just work a little bit harder, Derek, I won't make it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. We talk about this all the time. Entrepreneurs always say the words, one more week. I'm going to turn this boat around one more week.
That's
just
right.
one more week. That's good in some sense because you're not giving up.
That's right.
But you're still relying on yourself so many times.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff.
I was talking to Pastor Michael on Sunday. We had him on the podcast previously, and he said that he got his first negative comment. He does his own podcast and puts out a bunch of different motivational videos and stuff. And he said he got his first negative comment, and it's about failure. How failure is the best teacher, and we talked about that. It really is the best way to learn anything is through failure. And he said somebody said something of like, to the effect of like grow up, or maybe something like you don't know what you're talking about. He needs to correct that. So call in, Michael, and tell me. But I said that sounds like a person who has always had success, and when failure comes, he won't know how to dig himself back out. He's or he's also saying that
more than likely,
it's
probably someone who's never actually tried.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
That's ultimately really it.
Successful people don't have time to troll online.
No, but if you happen to be so lucky that you are with the Midas touch, so to speak, right? When failure comes, because it's inevitable, it will hit.
Yeah,
you won't know what to do because you haven't embraced it. You've embraced success for so long. That constant win, you're like, yep, I can do anything and I'm going to be great. And then when failure hits, you're like, I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
And then it puts you on the spiral to complete collapse. I feel like failure, especially if you have it at the beginning, it's just a good building block.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, now I'm looking for the opportunities to fail, because that means that I'm looking and I'm pushing the limits of what I can do or can't do, and I'll find it out a lot sooner by failing than having some success for a little bit longer period and then falling off the cliff and going, I don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
I don't know if knowing how to swim and fall off the cliff have anything to do with each other.
If your cliff's by water.
There you go. Mine probably wouldn't be.
For sure.
Mine's by a bunch of stone at the bottom. It's not the fall that gets you. It's that sudden stop right at the end.
Well, I mean, it's a common pitfall that people can be in, especially going through failure, is to them, they can misconstrue that as a stop sign. That's the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
A lot of times, all it is just another step.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to learn. I mean, there's not a wealthy person out there that hasn't lost fortunes before they made them, or made fortunes, lost fortunes, made fortunes. Because if you're going to succeed, you have to be willing to risk more than you're willing to lose.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I think that's where so many people are. They are so risk adverse. They want the safety net of working the 9 to 5. They want the safety net of having a regular paycheck. But they're always going to be a slave to that paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yep.
I mean, 50% at the end of the day, 50% of what we make goes to the government in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
If you're working for a paycheck. Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
I think that's what so many people out there, we try to weed through. We read a lot. We listen a lot to just about everything we can, because we want to be, a resource in our own business to be successful, but to everyone else as well. And we keep hearing the same themes over and over and over again. You can't work a 9 to 5 job and retire wealthy.
Yeah.
You can't be wealthy. You can't build real wealth being able to do that. You can't build real influence to be able to do that. You can't build the flexibility to do great things.
Protect your home with the best in the business. Duncan Custom Gutter and Coppercraft. From seamless gutters to stunning custom copperwork, we deliver top quality craftsmanship that lasts. Say goodbye to leaks, fogs, and water damage with expert installation and repairs from the local pros you can trust. Call Duncan Custom Gutter and Coppercraft at 850-455-7246. Again, that's 850-455-7246. Or find us online at duncancustomgutter.com. Duncan Custom Gutter, where we say doing it right is cheaper than doing it over.
Mm-hmm.
By showing up and working for somebody else every day.
Right.
It's not possible to do.
Yeah.
And most people relying on a 401k or an IRA are going to find themselves in deep water.
Yeah.
One day.
Sad thing, there's so many people out here that are going to fall into that category.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to be the paycheck to paycheck, basically building somebody else's dream, building somebody else's future, because they don't realize that they can do more, or they can be more, or there's more. There's plenty of opportunity for everybody, but not everybody's going to take a hold of that opportunity, and that's unfortunate. I guess if everybody was an entrepreneur and was out doing it, the world would look a lot different. So sometimes you need the soldiers in the field and doing all those things, but that's primarily because they don't see the path forward.
Yeah, and listen, there are people out there that are perfectly suited to a 9 to 5.
Yeah,
they really are. That's they. It's not that they're afraid of anything else. That's all they want.
Yeah.
And they're satisfied in it. It's not necessarily they're afraid of risk. That may be all that they want to do. Sadly, not sadly, but the truth of the matter is some people aren't capable of more than that.
Yeah.
It's just differing talents and skills and abilities and even intellect. That can be a hindrance as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last thing, there's 10% of the population that we currently have that can't learn a skill, as a result of a multitude of different kinds of things. That's part of our mission as well. We don't forget about people like that. We have to engage in and be able to, as a society, be able to take care of those kind of people and find them a function. But as the vast majority of people who are working I wouldn't say a vast majority. There's a large population of people that work 9 to 5 that are capable of so much more. And I'm not talking about you have to be super smart to be capable of so much more. You just have to be willing.
Right.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
You've got to have a little bit of a drive. You can have a little bit of a fire.
Yeah.
A little stubbornness to say this can't be it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the things. We got so many people that could impact the kingdom so powerfully. If they just broke themselves free of that, we need those people on the front lines of business.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
No, not everybody's going to start a business. Not everybody wants to. Not everybody can.
Well, and not everybody needs to.
Right.
We talked about that a little bit too. Not everybody needs to, because we need people in those positions so that they can make an impact for the kingdom, because that's what it should be all about.
Yeah.
And that's what the book I'm writing is really about. Kingdom hustle. Doesn't mean kingdom hustle as an entrepreneur or business owner. Kingdom hustle right from your 9 to 5 job. Nothing wrong with 9 to 5 jobs.
Sure.
Some days I think
I'd
about, I'd much rather have a 9 to 5 job some days, but there's nothing wrong with that. But be a kingdom forward focused entrepreneur in that position, whatever that position may be. And people always use that same thing, whether you're pushing a broom or a mop, if you're the janitor, That just means if you're at what we would consider the bottom rung of the corporate ladder, that's about as low as you're going to get.
Yeah.
Or if you're the CEO, you pushing for the kingdom, not for the job you're doing. If you're an Amazon delivery person, or if you're the Jeff Bezos,
Yeah.
you should be forward thinking for the kingdom. And how can I make this position of delivering packages kingdom focused?
Yeah.
It's all in your delivery. Pun not intended.
And intended.
Yeah, pun not intended, but ain't intended. Now it is, But how can I do that? Because you may only have a moment of interaction with a customer, so to speak.
Sure.
How can you use that moment? Because those guys are moving.
Yeah.
And they're dropping off packages and they're getting going. But you can make an impact even just by how you drop off a package.
Yeah.
Because your purpose and your why is greater than your what.
Yeah. Sure.
Right.
I think, and we're going to talk about this more over the coming weeks, because we don't want to just engage Christian entrepreneurs because we want them to be better members of their church or better testimonies. Which, yes, you need to be better in your church.
Yeah.
Members of your church. You need to be involved. You need to be engaged. You need to be unashamedly Christian in your workplace and in your business. But the way you really have an impact is going, doing.
That's it.
And that means everything. That doesn't mean you have a Christian business where I guess, I have to print Bibles. That's the only Christian business I know of, right?
Right. Yeah.
No, that means it opens up a world of tools for you to engage in the kingdom. That's personally, that's financially, that's through your message, that's through your effort. I mean, I was talking this morning. He was a missionary for 30 years in South America, went into entrepreneurship, and engaged a lot of Christian businessmen and women in mission around the world. A lot of them purposed to reverse tithing. He said he had more people who were multimillionaires that lived off 10% of what they made. 90% of it they used to engage the world in missions.
Yeah.
90%. You have to do that? No. But if we sit here and we've got, God's made me successful, that's why I have a boat and, the latest truck and all this kind of stuff and a big house and wonderful, but I give my tithe. There's so many people that say, we don't have to give our tithe. That's an Old Testament thing. So stop talking to me about money. And I said, well, if you want to, okay, that's fine. But the New Testament call is not less.
Right.
It's everything.
That's right. That's exactly
the New Testament call is all.
Yeah.
Not 10%.
And what people fail to realize, Dan, and we talked about this in a small group, right? Whether you tithe or not is irrelevant to God. He doesn't need the money back.
Yeah.
He's not in heaven going, well, I wish I could get that paycheck.
We can't keep heaven going. Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to pave these streets of gold without that. Looks like we're running low on stock. No, it's all about you.
Yeah.
Everything that's in the Word of God is not for God. He already has it because he is it. It's for our benefit.
Yeah.
And so you go, okay, well, if I just pay the minimum, the 10% or whatever, that's fine. I'm not knocking you for that.
Yeah.
But if you can do more, then do more because it's for your benefit.
Yeah.
And what does he say? You can't outgive me.
Yeah.
You give 20% as a challenge to him. He's going to give you a way to be able to give that 20% and even more.
Well, I mean, think about this. I think at the end, when we stand before him, we are not going to be judged for the good that we do. We're going to be judged for what we held back.
Yeah.
So if you're giving your 10% and 10% of your time, your judgment's going to be on the 90% you're holding for yourself.
Yeah.
Not saying that your bills aren't important and things like that. You surrender it all to God. And it's not saying, yes, you look better before God at the end of it if you give everything away. It's not about, again, it's not about what you give.
Nope.
It's about what you're holding on to and saying, this is mine.
Right.
This is mine. I earned it. God says, you have nothing if I did not give it to you, right? You don't have any, you didn't have, we talked about the men with that the Lord gave
The
talents to.
Yeah. 100%.
None of it was theirs.
No.
Not even what they made was theirs. I mean, that was the first thing that the man that made 3 times
Yeah.
a talent. Here's all of yours. It is all yours. He didn't give back the profit
Right.
or the principal.
Yeah.
He gave back everything.
Yeah.
And God blessed him even more. And that's the message. It's not about, man, I should be giving more, or okay, I'll give 15% instead of 10 or 20% or 90%. It's not about that. Somebody can give 90% selfishly as well, because they're really giving it to look or to feel better.
Right.
That's withholding just as much.
Yeah.
That's using money for a personal gain.
Yeah.
Even if it's trying to gain something with God. It's giving him, it's giving everything and saying, hey, God, here's everything. What can you do with it?
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the people
know?
at the I want to say the well, but the lady with the 2 mites. She puts it in the 2 mites, and Jesus is like, whoa, she gave more than anybody.
Yeah.
Well, all these others are giving out of their obligation to what they should give, and then they also changed. They call it money changers for 2 reasons. Number one, you had to change it from, Roman back down to whatever the Jewish coins were. But then number 2, they would exchange it for even smaller tokens. So when they threw it in,
Yeah.
it would
Sounded
ring.
more.
Yeah, it would ring more. And so it's like, look at what I'm doing. It may be just a bunch of pennies,
Yeah.
but it sounds impressive.
Right.
Well, she threw in 2 pennies, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that's all she had. And she's like, it's not all I had. It's all God left with me, and I'm giving it back.
Yeah.
Because I know if I need it, he's going to give it to me.
Sure.
I don't need to hold on to it. But it's too much. We hold on to it and think, well, look what I can do, or what mess I've gotten myself into. Well, yeah, you may have done that, but God's got you where he wants you at,
Yeah.
and he's helping you out as long as you're willing to move forward with him.
Yeah.
And on his will, not yours.
Sure.
Man.
Well, I mean, I think we see this over and over again. I mean, God says in Scripture, if you obey my commands, I will bless you. I mean, it's just out and out.
Yeah.
You do this, I'll bless you. I promise you. I mean, we see that a lot in the Old Testament, but even in the New Testament, follow me.
Mm-hmm.
Follow me, and I will bless you.
Yeah.
Right? It's ask, and you will receive.
Isn't that simple?
I
mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn said, the key to receiving is real simple. The Bible says it. Ask.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Jesus points this out. You don't always receive because you ask amiss. He says you ask amiss, meaning you're asking for your own intentions.
Yeah.
Right? Don't get me wrong. We're all going to do it. I don't care who you are. You're going to be like, well, I really like to have this. And God, Jesus, he wants you to have that. He wants you to have all that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's not the important part.
Yeah.
Right? The kingdom is the important part. And if you looked at it at the end of the day, you go, I got a car. Personally, I'll tell you this. I have a car that I wanted way back when. I couldn't afford one. Mm-hmm. And finally, we bought it last year. And, what is probably a $30,000 car back in 2006 was not quite $30,000 now, thank the Lord. But I got it. And I knew I wouldn't drive it a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I could have done something more with that money. There's nothing wrong with me having it because I do well with everything else. But sometimes you look at it and go, well, what's more important? Having that car just sitting out there or using that money for something even better? Mm-hmm. Too often we go, well, I'll just keep buying that car. I'll just keep buying that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're doing that more often than the other, now there's a problem.
Yeah.
Because it's self-seeking.
Sure.
Stop self-seeking.
Listen, we're not sitting here saying we've got this all figured out. We do it in the right way. It's a tough thing.
Yeah.
To sit and pray and ask God to bless you, and then is it really for me?
Right.
Or is it really for him? I mean, but I think that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see that kind of theme, work it out.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be simple. The Christian life is not supposed to, listen, it blows your mind. Just trying to comprehend God himself, who he is, first of all, who the person of God is beyond reckoning.
Yeah.
And then we think we can figure out his intention and what he'd do in my case, or how he thinks, or it's just way beyond. So difficult. But the point is that we're always to be seeking and to be learning and to seeking after his truth and submitting to him every single day, submitting our requests and saying, and then going, is that request for me?
Right.
Is that for my own personal gain or my own pride? Or is it aligned? Because when you have that kind of question, when you ask and you have that kind of inner dialogue between you and God, at the end of it, you come to a little bit better understanding of what his purpose is, his will is.
Yeah.
Just a little bit closer. Not necessarily he's going to show up in your office in the morning and go, okay, listen, you asked for 10 things this morning, 7 of them, I mean, come on, man, really?
Yeah.
You know, I wish he would. That'd be a lot easier.
It would be.
I think we'd be terrified. But
I was praying for this moment, but now that it's here.
People always say, I wish God would just show up. It's like every time God showed up in Scripture, everyone was absolutely petrified.
Yeah.
That's a traumatic event.
Like you like your eyesight, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
There was a dude that glowed for the rest of his life because he got too close. Serious stuff. But I think we have to have those conversations. We have to ask.
Yeah.
And then have the conversation, that dialogue is does this match your will? Mm-hmm. Because his goal is not for you to get better at asking things that he'll say yes to. His goal is to get you to understand what his will is and ask for that.
Right.
Because that's an easy yes.
Yeah.
Right. That's a little bit harder. It's a little bit more nuanced. Because I can justify just about anything.
Yeah.
You know, well, I need a bigger house because I can have a bigger church small group come over.
Yeah.
You know, I can do more ministry out of my church. I need the guest house. What if we have missionaries? You know,
you just never know. Right?
You know that kind of stuff. Which there's nothing wrong with a big house and a guest house. I just showed one downtown here in East Hill, and a couple of new kids wanted to get a new house. For $1.1 million with a guest house back there. Hey, listen, if you've got it, go for it. That's not all their income. They bought it as a second home. Okay, good for them.
Yeah, right.
Good for them. But that's not our goal, right? It's not. I can justify just about anything. I have to submit it to God and say, I want to be shocked about how much God blesses me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If I grow to expect success and expect Him to just hand everything to me, I'm constantly, that makes people cynical.
Yeah.
Very quickly, because you know why? It doesn't work out.
No.
It doesn't work out. The first time something doesn't go your way, then it's because God is punishing you.
Like, well,
and you start having a conversation with God that's a little bit more angry.
Yeah. You're like, where are you in control? You're supposed to be steering the ship, God. What's going on?
I guess you don't care.
I've turned this all over to you. If you look in the mirror, you're like, you've been trying to reach over and grab the wheel from the passenger seat.
Yeah.
Like I do with my kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm a scared dad.
That's actually a perfect example. Because I was thinking about this the other day. Because my daughter's now to the point where she can open up her own juice boxes. She can open up her own applesauce and all that kind of stuff. But for a while, she could get most of it, but she couldn't get it started.
Yeah.
No matter what it was, if it was breaking the seal off one of those things or so you could twist it off. But as soon as I'd get that little, I'm like, I'll help you. As soon as she'd hear that little crack, I got it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I'm grabbing it from me.
Yeah.
Everything. Didn't matter what it was. I can do it now. I can do it now. I can do it now. And I think that, I was like, a lot of times that's me with God.
Yeah.
God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Gosh, I just don't know where it's going to come from. I don't know. And God answers a small need that turns, the light gets a little brighter in life. And I go, okay, now I got it. Right. I got it, God. Thanks. Yeah. Nope, I got it from here. All I needed, he didn't really do that.
Yeah.
I would have figured that out eventually, but I appreciate that. I got it from here. I got it.
Yep.
And it makes us realize, do you remember the point in your life, when you're younger as a kid, you look at adults almost like they can do anything. Mm-hmm. They're so much stronger and faster than you, smarter. They understand the world. They can work remotes that, you know what it is, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But there was a point where you realize, these people are just as dumb as we are. You realize, wait a second. Some of those people are actually dumber than the kids that I know, right?
Yeah.
Or, they do the most ridiculous things, or, that kind of stuff. They're making the same mistakes we are.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. We start to realize, I think we're just kids. Our bodies just get a little bigger.
Mm-hmm.
We get a little bit more experienced.
Yeah.
But we still have that guttural response of me, I want, I need, I can do it.
Yep.
I
was literally thinking about the same kind of concept the other day. I'm 44. My dad's no longer with us. He died about 20-something years ago. But I was thinking, wow, when my dad was 44, is this the kind of stuff he was going through? I mean,
Yeah.
There's a long story there,
Sure.
but probably not as much. But still, like at 44, these are kind of thoughts or kind of struggles and things. And I'm like, wow, yeah, because I think everybody at 44 or 34, whatever age you're at, everybody goes through that to some degree. I mean, it's a little different scenario looking, but everybody has the same, even at 44, you go, I don't know if I can do this or I can do that. I got all this life experience, been doing all these things, but then I don't know. But I thought my dad at 44 was 90, but number one. And number two, I thought he had it all figured out, at least the good things he could do.
Well, I think we project because we're like, well, by the time I get that old, I better have it all figured out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we don't realize. And I think, we're going to talk about some roadblocks that especially Christian entrepreneurs face. But I think one of them, be a little transparent. A lot of mine is that comparative. I'm 41 and, recently found myself in a position which, really spurned this podcast of having to start over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sobering.
It is.
It's no longer, man, I remember when I was in my 20s, man, I was traveling all over the world. I could go here and I could work there for a year, learn a bunch of stuff, and then go somewhere else, work for a year. Man, I can get a job. I can do 5 careers.
Yeah.
And I'm not even 30.
Yep.
I can't do that anymore.
Mm-mm.
That's sobering.
Yeah. That's right.
And now we're in the position of, because a lot of people come to that midlife.
Mm.
My midlife crisis was an actual crisis, not just an existential one. You know what I mean? But a lot of people come to that and they go, well, it's too late.
Yeah.
Just get a job, survive until I die.
Yep.
They don't say that out loud, but that's a lot of times how they act.
And you can see it in there.
If you're thinking about buying your first home, relocating to the area, or investing in real estate, I'm Daniel Callahan, realtor with ERA Old South Properties, and I'm here to make the process simple and stress-free. So whether you're military, moving across town, or looking to grow your portfolio, I've got your back. So let's find the right place right now. Call me at 850-903-4650 and visit my website at danielcallahanrealestate.com.
Face and the countenance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm here to say God is not only not finished with people in their second wind of life. I think it can be even more impactful in so many ways. Because what is most of your 20s? Just figuring out how life works. While you're stumbling toward, most of your success is accidental. To be quite honest with you. You're just clever enough to tweak it out, and you're like, okay, well, maybe I did do that. No, I don't think I did.
Yeah.
You don't realize you get a lot more perspective, a lot more wisdom. And I was even talking about it this morning at breakfast. And it's like, some of us, it took 20 years for God to get us ready. Man, I wish I hadn't. I wish I was ready when I was 20 and I was ready to surrender, but I hadn't surrendered. It was still all me. God said, okay, you're going to be 40 when you start. The next 40 years are going to be a heck of the next 40 years.
Yeah.
And I'm determined to make that.
Yeah. You think about it when you're in your 20s, you're trying to figure it all out, or you think you know it all.
Yeah.
And it's the person that's in their 70s or 80s that still hasn't figured it all out.
Yeah.
And, at the day you die, you realize still didn't figure it all out. But you got a lot of life in there, and the two don't mix.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of older men, especially, trying to teach younger men. And you don't see those younger men asking the older men, hey, how did you do it?
Yeah.
The smart ones do, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
Like, you can cut out a heck of a lot by going straight to the source of the person who's lived the last 70 years or 60 years of hardship to get to where they're at. And you're like,
I think some of the greatest advice somebody ever gave me, and I wish I'd utilized it better when I was younger. All your friends do not need to be your age.
Mm-mm.
You're not going to learn anything from it. If you do, it's, again, accidental.
Yep.
It's because they really screwed up and you went, oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's not the greatest way to learn.
Right.
Have people, it's the old adage, if you want to be better at basketball, play somebody who can wipe the floor with you.
That's right.
Don't play with the guys that are learning just alongside you.
Yeah.
Because it can lull you into it's easy to be a big fish in a small pond. When you have just a slightly better idea of what you're doing than everybody else around you, you suddenly soar out as the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, I can do anything. You're just swimming in a really small pool right now. Mm-hmm. You're swimming in a small pool. Get some people in your life that have been out into the ocean where you can't see the shore.
Yeah.
And have gone through some stuff. Have hit storms and survived.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that you need to surround yourself with. Those 5 people in your life that you're going to become an amalgamation of, don't lose sight of that.
No.
That needs to be very intentional. If I can say anybody in their 20s, don't waste 20 years. You don't have to. Mm-mm. You don't have to take 20 years to learn it right.
That's right.
Take this lesson. Find some people in your life that are older than you, that have been through things you haven't been through. Yes, you can have people your own age from different life experiences, but don't have anybody in your life that brings no real value to your life.
Yeah.
Not just make you a better business person. It's not like every relationship you have in life is to make you a better professional. People that are going to spurn you spiritually, that are going to spurn you forward spiritually, emotionally, even physically. Get around people that care about health, or that at least care about being active. And you don't want to start at 40 going, man, I should really take care of myself.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
You know what I mean? Make that part of your life. You have to have people in your life that are going to be constant encouragements to you and constant sharpening you. Iron sharpens iron.
That's
one
right.
man sharpens another. Have that. Be intentional with it. And that's, in essence, when you boil it down, that's what we are. That's why we do this.
Yeah.
Is because it's not, we're not sitting here like some of the other guys on podcasts going, well, this is how I made my $100 million fortune. Derek is. I'm not. We're pushing through this, like everybody else is.
Yeah.
Working alongside the people we bring in to talk to. There are differing levels of success, different levels of scale, different industries, but they've learned lessons we haven't even thought about yet.
That's right.
That we haven't experienced. Us, the greatest thing, the reason we started this is because we wanted to learn. We wanted to be better. We wanted to find the right purpose and the right surrender. Every conversation we've had on this podcast has been mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah.
We have come away with something.
Every time.
And it's those kind of conversations. I love it because one of the reasons we want to do this together is because every time we had a conversation together, we left with that kind of stirring in our spirit and our heart. Like, all right, let's go do this.
Yep.
Let's go do something. Man, that was so awesome. We wanted that over and over again, And so many people are absent for those conversations. So many people don't take advantage of those conversations.
That's right.
They allow a lot of those kind of overall roadblocks to hit them, that fear and apprehension to keep them. In fact, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He said, most people that are not successful are not successful because they're not smart enough or because they don't have the skills. Most of them are not successful because they're dominated by fear, in essence.
Yep.
Because they don't take that bold step.
I'll tell you, if you can take that bold step into the kingdom mindset in whatever position you're in, again, going back to that, it's so much more fun on this side.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We do well in our company, but I think even if we lost the company and we weren't doing well, or even when our company doesn't always do well, we've had some downturns and things like that, it's still more fun on this side of being more kingdom focused. Are we always at kingdom focused and perfect? No, because I'm a human. I have my days, I have my weeks, I have my months, where things just kind of get, it's always moving that direction. Sometimes it's a little bit of a down and up and, kind of like a graph. But people, if they could just get on that side and go, let me trust God. He's in control, not me.
Yeah.
But, well, if I can control it all,
Sure.
then I can see what the outcome's going to be, and I want to know it. No, you're not. I promise you, you're not as smart as you think you are.
Yeah.
And if you're left to your own self, then it's going to be your own demise.
Yeah.
We see it countless time and time again. But what we see is we'll see a Jeff Bezos or or Mark Zuckerberg, and you go, well, these guys are great, and that's what I'm going to be. There's like 15 of those in the world.
Yep.
Right? There's 7 or 8 billion people on the planet. Could you be the next one? Perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But they're the outlier.
Yeah.
It just almost doesn't, the unicorn, it almost doesn't happen. So it's almost nearly impossible. But you get on track with God, and it's not impossible.
Yeah. Well, I think you just wrote our first T-shirt.
Yeah.
You're not as smart as you think you are.
That's right.
Like that. Learn a lesson, everybody out there. You're not as smart as you think
You're
you
not
are.
as smart as you think you are.
Always come into every situation with the assumption that you could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have this figured out. How do you bypass that? Surround yourself with people a lot smarter than you.
That's it.
That goes back to those relationships. There's been so many, I think God's been speaking to me just through, it's amazing. Everything, when God works on you in something and he's trying to drive a lesson into you, suddenly you see it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We're working on several things. I mean, we have an advisory council or advisory board, for our company. And we're putting together some things for them. And God just started spurning some things. Suddenly, all the books I'm reading, I kept seeing that same thing, these roadblocks. And it's amazing. I hear it from the Christian perspective, and I hear it from the secular perspective. They're the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the secular perspective, their only answer to it is push harder.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't have power of the Holy Spirit behind them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the discipleship. They don't have the relationship in the community that we have. Robert Kiyosaki, I get it right this time.
Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki. Gosh, so close. But he listed 5 things, and this is really where it kind of started spurning.
Okay.
Reason why people don't take that step to success. He said there's 5 reasons. Number 1 is fear. Number 2 is cynicism. Number 3, laziness. Number 4, bad habits. Number 5, arrogance. I mean, I think we've talked about just about all those.
Every one of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? If you live in a spirit of fear, you're never going to take that step. No matter how much you learn. And listen, I know so many people who have analysis paralysis. That can be my tendency. I love to learn so much, sometimes I won't do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a personal struggle. A lot of it's just that fear of, okay, now I got to really go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's fun thinking about the theory. That's the fun part. I was listening to a guy today who was people were writing in asking questions about real estate investing. And they're like, well, should I set up an LLC first? And he said, okay, I get this question a lot. And I used to have a different answer. Here's my answer now. No. Stop worrying about it.
Yeah.
Go get a deal.
Yep.
Set up your LLC later. You know how easy it is to put your property in an LLC?
Mm-hmm.
It costs $100.
Yeah.
Just shut up. Go make the deal. He said, then come talk to me, ask me about an LLC. He said, too many people sit down and get an LLC. They've designed their logo, their business cards, and then it sits there for years.
That's right. A.L. Williams, he owned a Prudential Life way back in the day. He's got if you're listening to this, hopefully you are, and you're on YouTube, just after the show, go to another thing and listen to Do It. Not just Do It, but Do It by ARK Williams.
Yeah.
And in there he says, the problem with smart people is they never get around to doing anything because they're always trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
A better way or smarter way or easier way.
Yep.
And then they just never get around to doing anything. It's like, go, do, and then figure out the plan after
Yeah.
that. You throw the fish in. I'm not a fisherman, so I'll probably mess this one up. But you throw the worm out, and you don't have to reel it in yet. You got to first get the worm out there,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't matter what rod you have. If you don't have the worm in the water, it doesn't matter. Or the bait or whatever you're using, crickets.
Yep.
I don't know if that's
So many people sitting in the back of their boat in the parking lot with all their fancy gear and never
Yeah.
get on the water.
That's right.
And then never cast the rod. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many other good ones too, because fear, I think I would probably arrange these a little bit differently, or I think some of these are related. They're two sides of the same coin. Because fear will naturally lead to cynicism.
Mm.
Because cynicism isn't usually healthy. Sometimes it can be if it's used in the right way, but it's usually a response to fear.
Mm.
It's usually you convincing yourself that you are right to be afraid and not do it anyway.
Mhm.
Well, there's too many people in that market.
Yeah. Well,
Or, there's just too much liability in doing it. Or, I'll have to hire people and, pay taxes. The government's just going to raise taxes even more. And, I just don't like the president right now and I don't want to support their agenda. And, I'll do it in 5 years.
Yep.
And it's always something not like that. And that leads you, the more cynical you are, and if you know a very cynical person, they're usually also a very lazy person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it leads you to inaction, because what are you doing?
Yeah.
You've talked yourself out of anything.
Well, I told you that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean,
That's their famous words.
Yeah. I mean, and they start, what laziness starts to lead to is when you're so fearful and you're so cynical, I think it leads you to, there's nothing for you to do, but something's missing. So you look for that kind of energy hit, that kind of cortisol hit.
Mm-hmm.
So, you start replacing it with things that don't matter, that can give you a little bit of a punch. It could be video games, which there's nothing wrong with video games. But, it's usually activities that have no utility, but that give you that little replacement purpose instead of doing what you're capable of doing.
That's right.
But it just leads to poorer and poorer, and you can't be lazy without having bad habits.
That's right.
Because there's nothing guiding you. There's no parameters. There's no goal. There's no direction that you're going. Every habit you're going to have is going to be bad because you only have good habits when they're done intentionally. No good habits are done accidentally.
That's right.
A good habit in your life is an intentional one. If you're so fearful of doing anything and you've convinced yourself there's no reason to even attempt it, you're never going to have a bad attitude. And it's time and time again, and I've seen this over and over again, even saw it in my own life. The people with the least amount of purpose, the most fear and insecurity, are often the most arrogant. Because again, they have to replace purpose with something.
That's right.
And it's because I'm too good for it. Oh, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you did, you wouldn't be in that. It's so true. I think that's all just one giant ball looked at from different directions. Their fear, cynicism, laziness, and bad habits. But the unfortunate thing, we see this creeped into Christian entrepreneurship. And I was doing some research we're doing a presentation. There's over 10 million Christian entrepreneurs. Christian businesses, over 10 million that would claim themselves as faith, being a person of faith. Now, that's a broad spectrum.
Sure.
But 10 million. There's over 500,000 CEOs who claim they are believers, or claim they're Christian. 500,000. It's a lot.
That's
a lot. In fact, it's one of the larger demographics in business ownership, are Christians in the United States, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely blows my mind. But they're struggling with the same things that keep them from being successful. Now, this doesn't mean all the Fortune 500, 30% of the Fortune 500 companies are Christian run. It just means this is mostly small business.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of small businesses in this country.
Yeah.
I don't know what the last count. I think it's some 30 something million, 40 million.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Maybe less.
Do you realize a small business is a business that has 499 employees or less?
Yep.
I'm just throwing this out there. If you got 499 employees versus the 5 we got.
And 500 is not a large business. That's a medium business.
I know, right? I'm like, in my eyes, you got a large business.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out
Yeah,
there.
no
So
one would
whoever
walk up
decided
to
that is
to a building filled with 499 people and go, nice little business you got.
Yeah. You know.
10 stories. But they struggle with the same things.
Yeah.
And I think because you were talking about purpose. We're talking about purpose for an individual's life. What we do, we have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
What we do, this podcast is just part of our purpose, because we've not only are we Christian entrepreneurs and experience these things, we hear about this all the time. Everyone we meet, it's a common theme throughout. They still struggle with loneliness and a lack of support.
Yep.
I think our churches have, they're not really sure what to do for the Christian business. It's the same programs in church, the same outreach, same everything for everybody, which I don't blame them. I mean, it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to pivot. But they don't feel supported.
No.
Christian business people in general don't feel supported.
And they're most of us are looked at as a paycheck for the church, and then the church doesn't know how to equip them or how to help them move forward. But they're quick to say, hey, we're raising money for this building fund, which is a great thing. I mean, businesses typically have the buying power or the opportunity more than your average person. So I get that, but they're putting on, most of those small businesses are putting on multiple hats, and they're wore out, and they need somebody. Now, we already, Jesus knew that was going to be a factor for everybody under the sun. That's why he sent us a helper who's within us all the time. We just got to remember that. But even then, even with the Holy Spirit in us, we need other people.
Oh, yeah.
And we need their
Can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's an article at the Denver Institute, which is a faith-based entrepreneur. I don't know if they're an accelerator, exactly what they do. But they polled and found that CEO level isolation is the number one challenge among Christian business leaders. They feel absolutely isolated on their own. Imagine the amount of fear when you're all by yourself. That cycle of fear and cynicism, how that can get. And 99.7% of Christian entrepreneurs lack access to tailored discipleship and peer community in the Christian business world. 99.7%.
Just straight out of curiosity.
I don't know if you know this, but it's pretty close to 100.
That is extremely close. How much of that, out of curiosity, I wonder how much of that is because people, let's say, Dan, you're the CEO of a company, and I'm a small group leader. I don't necessarily want to ask you to come and be in my small group because I don't know how to lead somebody who's successful like that.
Yeah.
Well, he probably already has it together. He should probably be leading this small group, or he should be doing that because he's CEO of a company with 500 employees.
Absolutely.
Or 499 employees. Well, and you go, well, he's got it all together.
I think you find that of anybody who's in a level at a level of leadership like that. Pastors face the same thing.
Yeah.
They always feel very isolated. That's why they go with other pastors. They go to conferences. I mean, I've been to pastors' conferences. I'm like, this is it's not like here's how to, they do some things to run a better church and finances and stuff like that. But I was like, most of it is just getting a bunch of pastors together who have felt by themselves for the last year around 1,000 other guys who feel exactly the same way.
Yeah.
They need that. And I think it's the same thing. I mean, in business, you're absolutely right. How they're perceived. It doesn't matter. Even there's a level of somewhat respect when someone says they're a business owner, and most people go, "Oh man." Well, see, that person took a step that they would, or that they've always said one day I will. But that person actually did, so they've got to be. They're in a different level than me. I don't know how to approach it. I don't know how to give them that kind of support. If we don't support them, they're going to fall into those same traps over and over again. They're going to fall into those traps of compromising.
Yes.
They're going to go where they get the help.
Yep.
If it's not us, they're going to the world for help.
That's right.
Where it's the focus is money, 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 me,
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Yep.
And then we wonder why sometimes Christian business has such a bad reputation.
Yeah. Well, you wonder why. You go, well, I never expected it from Jim. You know, he's such a good guy. I would have never expected him to do something like that. But he didn't either.
Yeah.
He got into business or he got into whatever because of great intentions. But it's those small little nuggets that kind of start pushing you one way or the other.
Yeah.
And if you're not surrounded by people who can hold you accountable and keep you up,
Yeah.
keep you away from it draws you in.
100%.
Right? In all honesty, sin draws you in.
Yeah.
The lights and glamour of Las Vegas, I'm not saying that going to Las Vegas is a sin.
Yeah.
I like to go to the casino every once in a while with my wife and
Eat at the buffets, right?
eat at the buffets. I go to the blackjack table with money that I can lose. Not for gambling, but for fun. But that can easily turn into something
Sure.
detrimental to me, right? But I have to be surrounded by people because sin will draw you in and
Sure.
say, hey, this is fun. This is
Yeah.
enticing. And all of a sudden now, you know, you're Jimmy Swaggart. Remember that I took
Yeah.
you way back on that one.
Way back. He
Yeah.
just passed away.
He did. You know, so I can say that now.
Yeah.
But I mean, or countless other pastors, well, Harpo pastors a little bit, who asked for a bigger plane so they only have to take one. You know, I don't have to do a stop. I can
Was it what was his name? Dollar?
Jesse Duplantis was the
Jesse
one.
Duplantis, I know, asked for $30 million. There was another guy. I thought his name was
Creflo.
Dollar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Needed a $50 million
with a
plane
name
or
like
something like that.
Well, and then now we're on it. Jesse Duplantis. Let me tell you, you know how big my house is?
Yeah.
Let me tell you how big
I'm
my
a
house is.
multi-millionaire.
Multi-millionaire. Let me tell you how big my house is. It's like he probably never got to that point except for the people he was around. And it may be other pastors, but it was the wrong type of other pastors.
Mm-hmm.
It was the ones with the same mindset. So you got to have the right clique, so to speak. Don't be cliquish, but you got to have the right group pushing you in the right direction and be more kingdom focused and not so much on the jet. Though,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe one day we'll have ARK jet.
We're going to get kickback on some Jesse Duplantis fans out there, too.
That's okay. Come on.
I just think it's weird. We get
You want to talk about Joel Osteen?
everybody, the same people that sometimes the same people that post online that, man, look how wealthy our politicians get.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do anything to earn money, but they're making money hand over fist. And we're like, well, pastor's got a $30 million house. Yeah, but you know, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
He earned that. No. I'm still a little old school in that way.
Yeah.
I don't think you should ever be able to enrich yourself in the ministry.
No.
I just don't think so. But we want to be able to be a resource to entrepreneurs to be able to help remove some of these roadblocks. And it really is, at the end of the day, discipleship.
Yeah.
That's all we want to be.
Yeah.
Is assist in the discipleship of Christian entrepreneurs, to give them the purpose, the right perspective, to address all of the fears and roadblocks that they're going to. I mean, just quickly, the things that Christian business owners struggle with the most, we kind of put it down into 5. One is that loneliness and that lack of support. Just feel by themselves. There's nobody there. So they're going to look for the alternative that's going to give them that feeling. Operational and financial competence,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of, A, how do I run a business? But B, also, how do I balance making a profit with biblical values and being able to run a kingdom-led business?
Mm-hmm.
That people can say, I want to run a kingdom business, but what does that actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. They've got to be shown. Number 3, mental and emotional strain. And this is where the spiritual battle begins.
Mm.
They come to the ends of themselves. You're not running a business right at some point if you're not strained out, because it's constant. It's all the time.
Always.
It's going to happen. And the first thing to go, usually, we've talked about this before. When things seem to be going the worst, then we kind of wake up 2 weeks later and go, I didn't even pray about it.
Yep.
I was so focused on the issue at hand and the strain of it, and that emergency, constant stress, that I didn't give it to God.
Yep.
You need people around you that go, let's stop and pray.
Yep.
Have you prayed about this? Have you given it to God? Ethical and competitive pressure. They struggle with pressure to compromise their values. They face discrimination for being Christian a lot of times. And it's not necessarily overt discrimination. Sometimes it's discrimination from other Christians because they think they should, hey, you got to give me a deal because I'm a Christian. or, you shouldn't charge that much. It's too much for a Christian. They're also going to get discrimination from people that don't want to work with them because of their faith.
Yeah.
And there is also a pressure to kind of blend some secularism into their faith. Well, I'm a Christian, but I'm not crazy about it. You can work with me. It's not going to, I don't ever talk about it.
No.
It's fine.
No.
They're going to try to play both sides of the aisle if they're not sure what to do, and they don't have the fortitude. They haven't built the spiritual discipline to be able to stand when things get tough, and they're faced with a decision of making more money in this situation or doing what honors God. That's a hard decision to make. Yeah. That's a hard decision to ask a business person to make a lot of times, but they have to. A lot of times they just don't have the access to the resources that they need from the Christian community. I think as a Christian community, we need to invest in Christian entrepreneurship. We don't need to be the predatory lenders and the venture capitalists out there that are going to take advantage of some of these smaller businesses.
Yeah.
We need, just as part of discipleship is inspiring them, training them, and sending them.
That's right.
I think we need to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
As much as possible.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Speaking of that, we need donors. We need people to give to our podcast.
Absolutely.
We need people who will come and
advertise with us,
who will comment, who will share our video, who will like and subscribe, who will do all that kind of stuff.
On
we'll get to
Patreon.
that even more later. But this isn't cheap.
No.
It isn't free. This takes money or it takes resources, and we're trying to do something that is more impactful than what a lot of podcasts do.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of podcasts, and nothing wrong with them, have a different focus, and that's great. This one, just like any other church or any other kind of thing like that, takes a lot of resources, and we can't do it all in a reach. We need people to be able to back us, and we don't. I say just throw money at us.
Yeah.
If you got it, of course. We're not just taking it and putting it in our pocket.
Yeah.
It's going for a better purpose, for
Absolutely.
a kingdom-driven purpose, because we want to be able to outfit other entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
Whether they're a Christian or not, we want to get them to being a Christian, right?
Yeah.
But we want to be able to impact other entrepreneurs who can change their community and be an impact and move this kingdom thing forward. And the only way we can change the world is one person at a time. And the only way we can do it here is with everybody's help out
Absolutely.
there.
It doesn't take much.
No.
I mean, if you're not in a position to, put your time into somebody else or another business or, those kind of things, do what you can. Help us do it. I think God's given us, I don't know why we say that so much. I know God's given us this purpose to do. We want to do it well.
Yeah.
We want to be a shining example to the world that Christian business is done on another level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's show your support for it by helping us out. Don't be afraid. Even if it's $5 a month on our Patreon.
Yeah.
That goes such a long way.
It does.
And the more people we're able to reach, oddly enough, it's just like in your business. The better your sales do, the more your expenses grow.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with us. The bigger our reach becomes, now we want to expand that reach, maintain the reach. That takes resources to be able to do, just like in anything else. So, we don't sell the podcast or anything like that. And of course, we're entrepreneurs. We're always thinking of ways to be able to leverage an income stream.
Yeah.
We don't want everything to be down to, we're not necessarily ministry, even though we are ministry focused. We're not a ministry. We want this to be self-sustaining as much as humanly possible, but it goes a long way in helping us. You used to have to pay for cable to watch your shows.
Yeah.
The way we do that now is, sponsor us.
Yeah.
Advertise with us. Go in there and support us for $5 a month, $10 or $1 million a month.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between those two numbers.
The higher end is better.
5 to $1 million.
We're setting to everybody who doesn't know, we're setting up an advisory board for us as well. And part of that advisory board is to be able to keep you grounded as well.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the intention of saying somebody come in here and advertising with us or just donating money and going, oh, you know, it starts coming in and it's doing really well. We go, oh, look, more money. We're doing really good. No. Will we one day maybe make a living off of this? Sure. But the goal is not that alone.
Yeah.
So the advisory board is really a council that will help keep us, and we hope that we as a council will help them with their businesses to say, let's stay focused on where we're at. So we don't go little nugget that leads us astray to a $30 million jet we don't need, just because the money's there. No, if the money's there, anything above what we have to have goes back to the kingdom. Yeah. It's all God's anyway. Absolutely. That's what we want. And by us, through this, it's through entrepreneurs and business owners. Yeah. It's a different avenue than just one individual at a time. It is one individual behind that typically, but they have a greater impact. And so it's not the what. ARK Entrepreneur Podcast is the what. Mm-hmm. The why is to be able to change everything we can possibly change for the kingdom.
Absolutely.
And we got to have partners to do it.
That's what keeps us driving every day. I mean, listen, we're going to keep doing it regardless.
Yeah.
This is what, I mean, really, I think God it's very clearly imprinted this on our hearts. But I know this is meeting a need. I know more people that hear about it, the more excited they are about it and want to be involved. Mm-hmm. That excites us like no end. And we're just excited for what God's going to do. And because I think we are at a movement throughout our country, throughout our world right now. We're on a precipice. I think God has put this. Put us here as to be a part of a great movement. Mm. I'm under no disillusion that we are the movement, right. But God is. We're not that great. We're just simple guys. But God has brought us, and He's moving through so many different people throughout the world. We're on the verge of another movement, and I think that's where God has us prepared to be, and I want other people to join us.
Yeah, absolutely,
as we do it. So, with that said, I'm looking forward to next week. Man, we've got a lot going on. We're going to have our advisory board is. Like you said, not only keeping us grounded on purpose, keeping the main thing. We need prayer partners.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the number one thing we ask from our advisory board. Mm-hmm. Pray.
Yeah.
Just pray for us.
Yep.
And we have some incredible people on this board.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what God is going to continue doing through us and through this podcast. And I think it's going to. I think people. It's going to take a little time because people need to see we're serious.
Right.
That we're real about it, and that we really are here to help. We're not here to sell you something. Mm-hmm. And now, listen. There's going to be things you can buy. There's going to be things of value.
Right.
We want that. Most of it's because it takes so much time to do things. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be something that's actually going to have an impact in people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going to see more Christian entrepreneurs because I want to see us eventually be able to invest in the Christian entrepreneurs to make the impact. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the rubber really meets the road, from advice to action.
Dan, you're a realtor. I'm in the gutter business, and that's a full-time gig.
Yeah. You
have children and a wife. I have children and a wife, and that's different a full-time gig.
Wives,
Different children and wives, but we don't share the same one, and they're all different. I got many more. That's right. We don't go to that one. And that's a full-time job by itself.
Yes.
Right. And I go at the end of the day. My wife says, why are you getting up at 4 a.m? You need to rest. I'm like, I do, but I also need to go a little bit sleep a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. But I do that because I need to focus on the extracurricular, which I hate to call it that, but that's what I've been dubbing it, which is working on the podcast stuff, working, on all the things that I don't have time to do throughout the day because I'm working my regular business, which is feeding my family and helping. Yeah. That income also helps to do some of the stuff that we do here and move the kingdom forward. Yeah. And then I got to have time with family because family is important. So it's not easy. And so the things that we do, what I'm saying is that this isn't just a haphazard we show up on Thursday.
Yeah.
We get up those hours that we could be sleeping and
Yeah.
resting, we're putting in the extra hours because we want it for somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it improves us, but we believe in it so much, we're wanting to pour into somebody else by giving up those hours and that time and that energy, because it's what God wants us to do,
Yeah.
and we want to follow it.
Absolutely. Well, I don't think I could have said it any better. We do this because we believe in it. It's worth the extra time. It's worth the early mornings and
Yeah.
some late nights and long hours,
Yeah,
because I believe God's called us to it,
absolutely.
and we're just going to obey
That's
and
it.
follow. So thank you so much for listening to us. If you're listening on the radio or podcast or YouTube or Spotify, means the world to us, enabling us to reach more people just like you and to help them in real ways. And so help us out, subscribe, share us, and keep listening every time we have a new episode out. It does so much for us. And we want to hear from you too. This is not a one-way thing. It's not. We don't do this to hear ourselves speak. We're not that great at it. But what we do have is a heart and passion and a great network of people that know how to help you. If you're out there struggling with these things, reach out to us.
Mm-hmm.
Let us help you in every way we possibly can, even if it means passing you off to somebody that can help you better than us.
Mm-hmm.
It's out there. Let us be a resource and a starting point for you taking that turn. No matter where you are in your entrepreneur journey, let us help you, even if we're just prayer partners for you. If that's all you need, we're here for you. Join us next week. Thank you so much for joining us on the ARK Entrepreneur Podcast.